Do I need a business license or an LLC to get started in my business? And what does it even mean to be a startup, which is related? So let's talk about those things. But let me just jump right to the point here. Is my general advice, and many people that would agree with me, don't waste your time and money getting LLCs or any other kind of legal incorporation or a business license or anything else until you have done some amount of work to validate the business. Now, what do I mean by validate the business? I mean, you have engaged with and found customers willing to pay. If you're talking to customers and they haven't agreed to pay you anything yet, but you're saying, hey, I could do that kind of work for you. Hey, I got a product here I could sell you. If you're doing that, you're not really doing business. You're business to be doing business. There's financial transactions that have to happen. So if you're just having conversations and exploring, you're not in business yet. And that's really a good place to be, is go talk to potential customers. A friend of mine, I remember him telling me he he went out and talked to many customers. I forget the number, but we'll call it 20. He went out and talked to 20 businesses that would buy his product or service and said, hey, I'm going to start this company. If I did that, would you buy from me? And they said, yeah, under this situation, we would buy from you because you can deliver overnight, and the other guys, we takes 2 weeks. So he got to understand the market. He was just exploring. There was no need for him to create any legal structure or any business license at that point. Yet he was engaging with customers. Now, the minute he gets paid to do one, now he's a business or he's operating as a business. So, but generally, my rule of thumb is don't worry about any of that until you've got some real customers that are committed, and maybe they've committed to do the work with you. Maybe they haven't signed on the dotted line or they haven't committed cash, but they've verbally, gentleman's agreement, committed to do the work with you. And I realize that's not totally legally binding, but that's not your point right now. And but even if you can, I want to put you in a situation thinking about some 14-year-old kid who wants to mow grass. Right? He borrows dad's lawnmower. He goes to the neighbor. He knocks on the door. Can I mow your grass? He mows the grass. He gets paid. He doesn't have any legal structure. He doesn't have any business license. He doesn't have a bank account. But legally, he is in business. Now, Johnny, when he did that, may have decided that he hates cutting grass for anybody else. That's good. Now, don't do that again, right? That business is dead on day one. No need to file anything. But if he loved it and he says, I want to keep doing this. This is fun. This is a great way to make money. I feel like I'm serving people. This is a win. And he keeps doing it. Well, then at some point he needs some structure. Now we can decide what those points are for a 14-year-old. But for you, that's what I want you to think about. You are experimenting until money starts to change hands. So let me give you a couple of rules here that I think are just some things to think about. I'm going to give you three. I have written down here two, but why follow what I've written? Rule number one, these are exceptions to what I'm saying. Rule number one is if you live in a state that is, let me just call it what it is. They just hate business. And I'm thinking California and New York. And I know there's tons of businesses in both of these places, but for a small business startup, they're difficult. Hey, let's just face it. They're difficult for big business. That's why you see so many businesses exiting some of these places, and don't get in an argument. I know there's some moving there too. But as a startup person, you don't have all these things behind you. So you don't need extra garbage, right? And you certainly don't want $10,000 fines, which some of these places are known to do for startups that don't have licenses. So if I'm in one of these states, and maybe I'll add some of the big giant cities, the Chicago's and the the Atlantas and some of these big cities that might also have rules that they don't really like business, no matter what they say. Check with an attorney and just say, hey, here's what I'm going to do. You're just looking for a small business attorney. They're not usually going to charge you a dime for this conversation, and say, hey, here's what I'm doing. I want to sell this. I want to sell it to these people. I want to provide this service, this product. I want to do it in this city. What do I need? What I need to think about. Now, attorneys and accountants can be over the top sometimes in what you need, but at least you'll have some framework, and you'll see if there's red flashing lights. Like if you don't do this, you're going to get fined big time. They'll take all your profits. So it's good to know that. It doesn't mean you don't do these things, but it's you need to know. Most anywhere else in the United States, and for that matter, in many countries that I know of, or cities in these countries, is you can just get started. But the rule is if you are in an area that you know just has extreme rules, then check first. Number two is if you have net assets, if you are wealthy, if your net worth is over 100, I mean over I'm gonna say over 500,000. If you don't know your net worth, you're probably not there. But that's if you sold everything, all your 401ks, your stocks, your cars, everything, and paid off all your bills, the amount that's left is your net worth. If it's over 500,000, well, I don't know what we would call that, but let's call it wealthy. Um, you have enough assets, you need to protect them. So at that point, yes, I would. If I have a net worth, now maybe your comfort zone is it needs to be 1 million or 100,000, but if your net worth is of a significant number, then you need to say, I'm going to call this attorney and I'm going to get the advice. Same thing if you're in a big city. So ask for what I need to do, what I need to do to protect myself. Um, Maybe nothing, but at least you'll have some rules of thumb. Um, the other and the third one here that I'm adding on that I usually say and say it this way is if you're doing something just highly risky, like it's not a matter of if somebody's going to get hurt, they're going to get hurt. A motorcycle theme park, right? Skydiving. If you're doing something that and don't email me about the skydiving and there's hardly any injuries. I get that, but if there is, it's probably bad. So what we're looking for is the risk here is pretty high. In that case, yes, you still want to do these things. So talking to an accountant, talking to an attorney, and talking to an insurance agent, all of those conversations are free. They're not going to cost you money to get some advice because all of them are selling you products and services. And so they want your business and they want to hopefully advise you well. So those are the exceptions. But otherwise, we want to just jump without it. Let me just kind of walk you though through what gets confused here. Usually when I'm approached with this conversation, somebody's already has an LLC and they've done a business license and they have zero customers and zero money. Don't do it that way. Go find the customers first. Because a startup, when we think of the term startup, we always think of these big California cool startups in Silicon Valley. And that's not accurate because usually by the time me and you know about them, they're not startups anymore. They're serious deals. We may call them startups, but when you're taking on venture capital, you're really beyond that. What you're doing in the startup mode is proving it. You're proving it before you formalize it. Can I sell this? Can I sell it twice? Can I sell it 3 times? Do I like doing this? Um, is there enough money to be made doing this? And a lot of times the assumptions when we walk in the door is no. Maybe I like doing it. Maybe I can find customers, but I can't make enough money doing this. I just had a conversation with a guy the other day that was selling a product to people dealing with a certain handicap. Um, and the question was, how many people in the United States have this handicap? How many of them might buy this product? What price point can you sell it for? And what we're looking for is if you have a complete win and all those things, is there enough money? to make it worth it. And a lot of times we start businesses and there isn't. Even if we're a big home run hit, there's just not enough money on the table to do this. So those are the kind of things you want to prove and think through. And the best way to prove something is not a bunch of theory. It's getting in front of a customer and having a customer say, yes, I will buy this, and then they buy it, and then you do the service or provide the product, and they like it and they give you good feedback. That's proof. The rest of it's a bunch of theory, and it's not worth the paper it's written on. So number two is in the terms of what is a startup, and is on a startup you want to avoid major commitments. We had a startup one time, and we ended up with a $250,000 commitment of a job. They were going to pay $250,000. It worked out, uh, but looking back, it was not the best move to make. What we should have done is broke it up into different pieces because we didn't know what we were doing. Right, we were doing some high end stuff for a high end client, and so what we needed. Let me put it in this term: if you're building decks for people's houses, maybe rather than saying I'll replace your deck for $5,000, whatever the price is, you probably thinking 5,000. Yeah, right. But let's say what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write the contract. Well, I'm just gonna me and you agree for $500. I'll tear it out. You pay me, and then if we both walk away, you've saved that much labor. Or okay, now I'll frame it up for $1,000. Okay, now I've got that much done, and pay me. Or I'll now put the decking down and put the railing down. So these you might break a contract or consulting agreement up into some steps. This is very normal in the B2B where we're selling to businesses and we have consulting agreements that we might break it up because they might decide not to go further. Right, so that's a very normal thing. And we can get, when we do that, we can kind of get paid in chunks and we can not formalize. We're just still testing the market. Because what I'm thinking and what my experience has been in working with many people, including my own companies, is you don't usually need the business license or the structure until later. We have had a business where we didn't even know a business license was required. And we had been in business for, let's call it 5 years. I don't know. And the city that we were operating this one business out of sends me a letter and says, oh, here's your business license you should have had. And you did not pay for this for the last couple of years. And so here's your penalty. I think the penalty was $25, right? And you got to pay the last couple of years. So I write a check. I mean, do I like paying taxes or license? No, but it's a tax. That's what it is. No, I don't. But it wasn't a big deal. They found me. They told me. I paid it. After that, we paid it. Everybody's happy. And a lot of times that's how it goes. I mean, so had I started the business, and what I've done in others is I've started a business and we've got it and money's coming in the door. And then I've gotten smart enough to pick up the phone and call the city or the county or whoever and say, hey, we got this business. It's operating. We're making money. We were trying to get all our stuff, all our ducks in a row. And here's how much we've made. And you just tell them and they'll say, oh, well, okay, since you made that last month, you'll owe this. There's a $10 penalty. Or a lot of times till the end of the year, there is no such penalty. But point being, they're easy. Generally, they're easy to deal with, and it's no big deal. Had I spent a lot of time chasing around all these things, I would have been too worn out to start the business, and that's what happens. You only have a limited amount of time and energy. Focus on the customers and moving money and moving transactions first. Do what you've got to do. Right? And as you realize this works, then you formalize your legal agreements and you do all the things to make yourself a proper business. Um, and that's the way we've done it. We've formed LLCs after the fact multiple times, and that's what you want to do. That's the practice you want to be in. Unless you're in one of these situations that I described before, you're in a very anti-business city state, you have a extreme net worth, or you're doing something very, very risky, then you want to ask the questions up front. Then it's just prudent to take the time. For many people that I've worked with that are doing some online consulting, they're doing business consulting, they're selling products online. A lot of them are digital products. Uh, they're doing minor type of things in terms of dealing with actual people. Your risk is very, very low. Because here's what we want to think about is you want to move from the startup mode, the real startup mode, into, well, I've got a real business as soon as possible. Or you want to discover, this is not for me. I don't want to do it. There's not enough money in it. It's not fun, whatever your reason is, and walk away as soon as possible. Don't get caught up in doing all this other stuff, because most people that come to me with LLCs and business license and all their documentation and paperwork formally filled out and sometimes written business plans, all they have done is delayed getting in front of real customers. Don't do that. A business is about you serving someone and getting paid for it. All right, we'll be back here next week. See you later.